Barcelona are 7 points behind league leader Girona and Real Madrid. They've already conceded more goals in 19 league than they did in entire season last season, and they suffered that shock defeat in the Champions League against Real out. But they are through to the round of 16 of the Champions League. So the question stands, is there something wrong with Barcelona? Well, to go about answering that question, I've identified 3 factors that contribute to Barcelona's drop-off this season. And before we get to those, let's address how Barcelona's Xavi actually played this season. As you can see on the board, Barcelona played their classic 4-3-3 as they usually have always been. Out of position, this is how they look usually, but at sometimes it can shift, where Sergio Roberto pushes up, and then the Frankie de Jong and Ilkay Gundogan stays, then the wingers tuck in, and they press in a 4-2-2 mid-block. Most of the time, this shape, you can see it if they're playing against a team that knows how to kick the ball. But usually, they press in the classic 4-3-3. And the thing that makes Barcelona this season different, out of position, is that all these 3 midfielders, they press in usually like a flat 3. And you will most likely see Sergio Busquets in this position. They don't do that nowadays. Instead, they press in this flat 4-3-3. In position, these moves are a lot, as Barcelona don't have a classic left winger, so usually this left wing position is played by either a sort of like a forward or a midfield. So in position, Barcelona moved to the classic 3-2-5, which all the best position teams play in. So Lewandowski pushes up, Ferran Torres moves in, Rafinha hosts with on the right, Sergio Roberto joins the front line, and Alex Balde, the left back, moves forward and becomes that left winger. And then the 3 centre back, Christensen, Araujo, and Koundé tucks in form a back 3 shape. And as you can see, the 2 sitters of as you can see, which leaves the 2 sitters of Frankie de Jong and Ilkay staying at the bottom of the pitch. But if you're into tactics, you've already identified that Barcelona form a classic box midfield that all the best possession teams form this box midfield. But in order to understand how Barcelona Xavi play in possession, we have to understand all the midfield profiles in this box midfield. And to do that, we can look at this screenshot. As you can see right now, Barcelona are in the 3-2-5 shape, and those 4 midfielders in the box midfield has been named in terms of what role they play in this shape. As you can see, this is the classic Busquets role, which is the pivot. There's a controller, and then there's a right interior, and then there's an inside forward. And now let's start explaining each of these roles individually, starting with the pivot. As you can see on the screen right now, this is what Xavi demands out of this pivot role in this shape. A very good ball-winning midfielder. Obviously, you have to be composing the ball if you want to be a Barcelona player. Press-resistant, positional discipline, so they need to stick to their position, and obviously above average, good vision of the ball and a good passing range. Now let's move on to the next one, which is the controller, which is in this screenshot right now is Frankie de Jong. This role is key in controlling possession. Most of the time, this controller role is the role that is more prominent in this shape. So Frankie de Jong usually plays this shape. As you can see, key in controlling possession, control the tempo of the game, important in progression. So this player, compared to the pivot, this role is allowed to become more expressive in terms of finding those passes forward, in terms of carrying the ball forward, which we know Frankie de Jong is good at. And then good overview of the game. Obviously, if you want to be a Barcelona player, you have to have the game intelligence and excellent technique. As you remember, in this double pivot role, if you lose the ball there, it's basically the back 3 is left, as Alex Balde is playing the left wing. And then let's move to the next one, which is the inside forward. And as I explained, this is the left winger in the 4-3-3 shape. So in this role, this is what is being demanded. You have to be smart and dynamic, as we tight in small spaces, as you're usually in that pocket and in the line between the defensive line and the midfield line. You have to be good at comfortable on the turn, as usually the controller will usually be firing those balls through to the inside forward. Decisive in decisive creator. So this player has to be able to create chances and also finish chances, which is very key. Then let's move on to the last one, which is the right interior role. This role is sort of, I don't think Xavi can explain how this role works. It kind of depends on which player is playing that position at that game. So, but this is the skill sets that are needed to play this role. Decisive in the front of the positional, intuitive. So, as I said, this role depends on the player. So, Pedri in this role can move around the low and front because of spaces. Comfortable in the pocket, as the same as in the inside forward. Confident in receiving under pressure as always, and moving all the time. Like I said, this role is specifically to a certain type of player. So I don't know. So I think it depends on the player who's playing there. So that's Barcelona's in and out of possession and how they play this season. So let's go back to the tactics board and see how this plays out in the current squad of this season. And if you have already identified, there's a problem here. But let's go through the roles in that box midfield. Ferran Torres can play that inside forward role very well, I think, in my opinion. Sergio Roberto, like I said, in that right interior role, it depends on the player and who is in that position. So maybe Pedri might play this role differently, and Sergio Roberto definitely plays this role differently. But if you go back to the two pivots, that's where the first problem arrives. Is that Ilkay Gundogan and Frenkie de Jong are playing in this double pivot, right? And as we said, the right side of the pivot is supposed to be the pivot guy. It is occupied by the pivot role, right? And in that pivot role, remember, you have to be positional discipline. So I don't think Frenkie de Jong can play that role now. So let's try moving to the other side where he was on that screenshot, and let's try and move Gundogan to this side. But if you look at Gundogan again, I don't think he's comfortable playing this role as well. If you go back to Gundogan of Man City, remember, he used to drop next to Rodri. So Gundogan was the controller for Man City last season, and now he's been asked to become a pivot. And same to Frenkie de Jong, as Frenkie de Jong was the controller, as Sergio Busquets was the pivot. So you sort of have the same type of player playing these two roles. So Frenkie de Jong and Ilkay Gundogan are the controllers. They are the way how they play and the style of play in general suits this controller role best. So this leads us to the first factor of why there's been a drop-off in Barcelona's season. Factor 1, midfield profiles. Well, as we already identified, Barcelona don't have a pivot. Basically, Barcelona do not have a Sergio Busquets. They don't have a player who sit in front of the back four and protect them, who is very good at moving the ball around, who's a very good ball winner. Basically, yeah, as you can see from the final season of Sergio Busquets at Barcelona, his FBref profile, you can see just how much Sergio Busquets won the ball back for Barcelona and just moved it around. As you can see, passes attempted for Sergio Busquets was almost 75% passes attempted per game, which puts him in the 97th percentile in La Liga. So Barcelona don't have Sergio Busquets. And at the same time, if you're going to play that midfield three, where there's no one who's going to protect the back four and stay deep, you need to have ball winners in that midfield. And Barcelona do not have a fit ball winner this season. And that ball midfielder, unfortunately, is injured, which is Xavi. Xavi is very good also at winning the ball. He is in the 96th percentile of winning the ball back and tackles. Interceptions, not that much, but tackles, which is the key thing, and the ball winning, then that ball winning side of the ball. Xavi did that for Barcelona, as there were times where Xavi played with a midfield three of Frenkie de Jong, Pedri, and Gavi, and really looked good because you have that balance in all the three players. Frenkie de Jong can bring the control. Xavi can bring that ball winning and chaos of always chasing the ball after the ball, always energetic, and Pedri can give you that creative side. So, and unfortunately this season, Ilkay Gundogan and Sergio Roberto do not have those two attributes. Take a look at this. this is last season defensive actions. Who won the most tackles for Barcelona last season? And as you can see, the two players who aren't there at the moment, one is gone and the other one is injured. Sergio Busquets and Gavi. Frenkie de Jong is there, but Gavi is more active than him. In fact, let's look at the three midfielders who are currently playing for Barcelona: Frenkie de Jong, Sergio Roberto, and Ilkay Gundogan, and see what profile they fit in. So we can start with Sergio Roberto. Sergio Roberto is a box crushing midfielder. Sergio Roberto is famous for scoring goals for Barcelona, and that's what he does. He's very good at scoring goals, as you can see, compared to midfielders. One of the best scoring midfielders, as he is in the 99th percentile of scoring of non-penalty goals. And yeah, that's Sergio Roberto. He scores goals. So, and as you can see, he's not good at tackling. He's not good at interceptions. So that he cannot play that midfield pivot. And according to the next one, Ilkay Gundogan for Barcelona, he doesn't score as much as he did for Man City, as the main reason is that he's not as much in the box as he was for Man City. So as you can see, he still scores goals because he takes penalties. He moves the ball really well, but again, he cannot tackle. He's not very good at tackling. And as we go to the last person, who is Frenkie de Jong. Frenkie de Jong, as you can see, he doesn't score goals. He doesn't take shots. He's not as creative, but he plays that controller ball really well. As you can see, he's in the 99th percentile. He is up there in stats like carry ball, progressive carries, progressive passes attempted, passes completion. That's Frenkie de Jong. Frenkie de Jong, he is very good at build up situations. So yeah, that's Frenkie de Jong. So in those three midfield profiles, you might ask, there's no creator, and that is true. Currently, Barcelona midfield do not have a creator. They have a ball carrier, which is Frenkie de Jong. They have a ball progressor, which is Gundogan, and also / ball crusher, and Sergio Roberto, who's a box crushing midfielder. So this is one of the main problems that Barcelona have when they go against low blocks. There's no one who is confident enough to play that killer pass, to play that. There's no player who can do that for him. In fact, Barcelona do have that player. It's that player has been injured most part of the season, and that player is Pedri. Pedri, as you can see, he's very good at scoring goals, which is it's not something you expect from Pedri. But the one thing that you would expect from Pedri is he creates chances for other people. As you can see, he is in the 99th percentile of expected assisted goals. He sets people up. Shot creation actions is very up there. Progressive passes received. As we said, Pedri plays that right interior role. So he receives a lot of progressive passes in that pocket. Touches into the opposition's penalty box very high. Successful take-ons. This is the creative player that Barcelona need, because for profile for Barcelona, this is what usually happens. The ball is getting passed around by these three midfielders, so Christensen, Araujo, Kunde, back to Araujo. Which what usually happens is that one of the two sitting midfielders will occasionally, they will swap. They will swap in terms of one will do it and one will stay in the middle. The other one, okay, yep. So Gundogan will probably drop deep, get on the ball, turn and try to get on the ball back. Turn and try to look for those passes. But the problem is, because Sergio Roberto plays this right interior role very different, as he is, as we already mentioned, a box crusher striker. So what usually happens is that Barcelona's front five, they pin themselves in terms of their men marking. They pin themselves against the opposition defenders. So this is what usually happens when one sitting midfielder has dropped deep to get on the ball, one is still here and the centre back are here. And what usually happens if the opposition is playing a high line, the ball will move on, and no one is dropping deep. As you can see, there's this big area that no Barcelona player will identify or will decide to drop deep into. So this leads up to Araujo, will look for this long pass in behind. And then Alex Balde or Ferran Torres will put it in a 50-50 situation, but they usually lose. And then the ball is suspected opposition. So this is the main problem that happens without Pedri. As you can imagine, if there was Pedri here, let's remove the lines. Yeah, Pedri, if we take out Sergio Roberto, Pedri will usually drop into this zones, as if one of the players moved around and tried to get the ball, he will show up into this and receive this passes. As well we said, Pedri receives a lot of progressive passes. So this pass is not on, as Sergio Roberto doesn't drop it. Sergio Roberto is not a link-up player. He wants to score goals, so he pins himself, and Ferran Torres pins himself, or Robert Lewandowski pins himself to the back line, and Barcelona usually they have possession at the back when they passing on the line. In short, Barcelona need Pedri. Xavi needs Pedri in order to get on the ball and be the creative spark in this midfield. In fact, we can look at the stat that shows what happens when Barcelona have and Barcelona don't have Pedri. And this is very interesting. As you can see, 8 games without Pedri, Barcelona have won 5, drawn 2, and lost 1. They scored less goals. The win percentage drops from 86 to 65. Points per game dropped from almost 3 points to like 2.1 points. But Barcelona with Pedri, they win more games. They score a lot of goals. But the thing is, and this has become a more pattern, that Pedri is not usually fit. Pedri has only played 670 minutes in the league this season, and last season Pedri missed 13 games in all competitions due to injury. The thing I'm worried about is that can Barcelona rely on Pedri, because it seems like he cannot be fit for the whole season. But for those Barcelona fans that have only watched, Pedri is back, and he played those 15 minutes against Osasuna and he looked really good. Pedri needs to be back in the starting level of Barcelona in order to change that dynamic. Factor 2, injuries. Barcelona's injury list is a big factor as to why it dropped off this season. As you can see, Barcelona's injuries, Marc-Andre ter Stegen is a big one. Marc-Andre ter Stegen was probably one of the best goalkeepers of last season. When he's not there, yes, you can give credit to Iñaki Peña, the goalkeeper was filling in for Marc-Andre ter Stegen, but he is important for Barcelona. And as we said, Xavi is very important, out with an ACL, and Rafinha's injured. Joao Cancelo had his knee, so Barcelona injuries are a key factor as to why they've dropped off this season. And I can hear some of you speaking through the screen. Well, everyone has injuries, and I understand that. In fact, if you look at Barcelona's closest rival, Real Madrid, their injury is quite bad as well. You can see, again, the goalkeeper is out. Thibaut Courtois with an ACL, Eden Militao with an ACL injury, and David Alba with an ACL injury, and Lucas Vazquez with a hamstring injury. Those 3 players, Courtois, Militao, and Alba are very key for Real Madrid, and they're out, and Real Madrid have coped very well. But I have to say, I think Real Madrid have a much better squad than Barcelona did this season. So now let's move on to the last factor as to why Barcelona have dropped off this season, which is underperforming. Barcelona are performing well below their expected levels this season. That's just a fact. Well, having said that, I think it needs to be said that Barcelona, even though last season they won La Liga, they weren't playing free-flowing football. The thing that made Barcelona so good last season was their defense. And as we already said, Barcelona conceded more goals in 19 league games than they did in 38 league games last season. They've already conceded 22 goals, and last season, in the entire league season, Barcelona conceded 20 goals. And as you can see by Barcelona's performance on the graphic, they've conceded more goals, 22 goals. And the main thing, and the other thing, with that bad defensive record, it doesn't help that Barcelona cannot score. As you can see by the graphic, Barcelona have created 43 expected goals this season, but have only scored 36 in the league. This is the best in the league. They are even better than Girona, who score a lot of goals. In terms of expected goals, Barcelona are leading everyone, but they've only scored 36 goals this season. which it shows just how bad Barcelona are this season. Because if you subtract goals and expected goals, you can see Barcelona underperforming their expected goals by almost 7 goals, which isn't helping. And the best example to look at this underperformance in terms of goals is the drop-off of Robert Lewandowski. As you can see, this is Robert Lewandowski last season for Barcelona. He was in the 99th percentile in terms of non-penalty expected goals, shots, chance creation. He was really good. And if you compare him to this season, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. As you can see, his non-penalty expected goals only in the 53 percentile. That is a big drop from 99% to 53. That is a big drop. And not receiving the ball as much because Barcelona are unable to low defending teams. So he's not receiving the ball a lot. He not shooting a lot. He doesn't take penalties. But I would say in the last game that Barcelona played against Osasuna, and as you just saw in the final, that they lost 4-1 against them, but one of them just scored twice. So we might be seeing an upturn in terms of his form. But if you look at big chances that Barcelona have missed this season, again, Lewandowski, I'm not picking away. He just it's not working well for Lewandowski this year. Remember this chance against Girona, big chance for Lewandowski, and he misses. It hits his shoulder. And it's not only just Lewandowski. Now, Ferran Torres against Valencia, he's the keeper, as you can see. Also, Rafinha has the keeper. So that's the main reason why Barcelona are not performing. They can't score goals, they can't defend, and in terms of the season in general, I don't think anyone expects Barcelona to win the Champions League. They're not far away in terms of challenging for the title again, but with Girona and Real Madrid basically running away with it, you could say Barcelona out of the title race. They lost their final against Real Madrid in the Supercopa 4-1, by the way. Interesting to see what happens now to Xavi. So their only chance to win something this season is the Copa del Rey. I don't know what happens next for Barcelona and for Xavi. But hopefully with Pedri coming back, and being fully fit, something can happen. But until they get a Sergio Busquets replacement, I cannot see Barcelona improve in the long term. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video and learned something new, make sure you click that like button, subscribe to the channel. As you can see, it's a new channel. Click that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.